out the door early this morning to try to manage. Otherwise, the roads look fine if you would like to drive in from north of the city. There are no problems for you coming in down through the Bronx. We'll continue to update this. This is the only problem for mass transit, and the problems we have on the roads are minor at this point. So we'll have another update coming up. Back to you for now.
All right, Caitlin, thank you. We have more now on the breaking news we've been telling you about this morning. A toddler found safe and sound after she went missing yesterday, and now the nanny who was caring for her is in custody. Take a look here. 3-year-old Gabriella Russo inside an ambulance minutes after she was found overnight. Police say Gabriella's nanny, 55-year-old Fatima Alexander, disappeared with that little girl after picking her up in Battery Park City yesterday morning. Charges against Alexander are pending. The body of missing 69-year-old nurse from the Bronx has been found. Police discovered the decomposing remains of Patricia Myers in a wooded area along the Harlem River Drive. Her body was stuffed in a partially buried suitcase. Myers had been missing since last month. Her nephew, Andros Topping, already facing murder and manslaughter charges. Police say the 37-year-old confessed to this crime. Surveillance video of Topping helping police find Myers' body is there.
Well, federal investigators say an Amtrak engineer is to blame for last year's deadly crash in Philadelphia. Specifically, they say he was distracted by radio conversations with conductors and dispatchers. The NTSB says the train derailed when the engineer hit a curve at 106 miles an hour, twice the posted speed limit. 8 people died and more than 200 were injured.
This was standard human error, single point of failure. And we need a protective layer of redundancy. Amtrak failed.
Well, more than 120 separate civil complaints have been filed in U.S. District Court against Amtrak and the train's engineer, Brandon Bastian. Bastian was placed on leave after the accident and has not returned to work.
Well, you'll have to wait a little longer to see that list of unindicted co-conspirators in the George Washington Bridgegate scandal. A federal appeals court in Philadelphia delayed that release. The hearing is now set for the first week of June. One of the people on the list challenged its release, arguing that his due process rights would be violated if it's published. 2 former allies of Governor Chris Christie have been indicted and will face trial this fall. A third pleaded guilty.
Well, police in Washington, D.C. are questioning a man after he called them claiming to have anthrax. The man drove his truck onto the lawn of the National Mall yesterday, just steps away from the Capitol. He claimed to have been exposed to anthrax at a farm in Virginia and that he brought some of the substance back with him. An initial field test for anthrax was negative. Investigators say there is no threat to the public. And victims of the 9/11 attacks can now sue Saudi Arabia. The Senate has unanimously approved legislation that would allow U.S. victims of terror attacks or surviving family members to bring lawsuits against nations that support terrorism. President Obama had threatened to veto the bill. However, the unanimous vote means the Senate would have the 2/3 majority necessary to override that veto.
The NYPD sends a dramatic message to owners of illegal ATVs and dirt bikes. If you're caught with one in the city, this is what would happen. You see that there? The NYPD destroyed dozens of those bikes at the City Pound in Red Hook yesterday. The demolition derby is in response to what police say is a major public menace.
We want to send out a very strong message to the nitwits and knuckleheads who insist on operating these illegal vehicles on the streets, sidewalks, parks, housing developments of the city of New York.
Well, the department has seized nearly 700 illegal bikes this year. That's up almost double over last year. Police say their efforts are paying off because of the stats. 5 people were killed by ATVs last year. So far this year, there have been no fatalities.
All right, from the reservoir to the tap, we've been hearing a lot of stories about lead in the water lately. So how does it get there? We track the water headed to your faucet. That's in the next hour of the PIX11 Morning News.
I'll have that story coming up. It's like liquid gold. But first, why one guy was forced to strip completely naked by police, what they were looking for that police never found.
And on the hot list, is Kim Kardashian a secret agent sent to corrupt the women of Iran? Apparently, some people think so.
All right, let's get to Linda from the Dunkin' Donuts Weather Center.
Thank you. You can see a couple of breaks in the clouds. The city, wow, if you're running around, that is a gorgeous shot to wake up to. Absolutely beautiful out there. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. You still can't rule out a sprinkle today with our afternoon high temperature getting up to 67.
That's the perfect weather to warm up with your local Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.